Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Ann Emanuel. A former Village of Horseheads employee is facing multiple felonies after allegedly embezzling money from the village over 4 years. Our Maggie Hall has the latest.
Tammy Millet, a former assistant clerk at the Village of Horseheads, allegedly stole over $3,500 from village residents. According to forensic reports, Millet also utilized $450 worth of village funds to pay her NYSEG bill. In the report from the New York State Comptroller's Office, Millet, during the time of her employment, she accepted residents' cash payments for their water bills. She allegedly then put the money into her own pocket and altered the accounting system to clear any unpaid balances that the residents had. The 49-year-old was an assistant village clerk from 2017 to 2022. Acting New York State Police Superintendent Stephen Nigerelli commented that this arrest should serve as a reminder that those who choose to abuse their positions will be brought to justice. The arrest of this individual sends a strong message that we will not tolerate dishonest actions by those who use their position at the expense of the public. I thank the Comptroller's Office and the Chemung County District Attorney's Office for their commitment to investigating those who prey on the unsuspecting public for their own gain. Millet's employment with the village was terminated in September 2022. Her alleged crimes were uncovered by a joint investigation between the Comptroller's Office, the Chemung County District Attorney's Office, and the New York State Police. She is charged with 2 felonies, grand larceny and corrupting the government. Millet is scheduled to appear in court on September 6th. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News. Horseheads.
A police chase in Van Etten ended in 2 arrests with multiple charges. 20-year-old Sarah Brown and 32-year-old Stephen Park are behind bars with multiple drug and gun charges. The pair took off from police and a short chase ended in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Park is a convicted felon and police say he had weapons on him at the time. The 2 were found to have also been in possession of illegal pills and methamphetamine. Park is behind bars at Chemung County Jail with a $100,000 bail. Brown was released with an appearance ticket. It's been confirmed that a tornado touched down in Tompkins County this week. A Tompkins County resident captured this video of the tornado ripping through forested area in the county. The tornado was tracked as touching down for 11 miles, going 90 miles an hour. It was registered as an EF1 with wind estimates between 86 and 110 miles per hour. The tornado even continued into Cortland County. If you're in the Elmira Pine City area, keep your eyes peeled for Nimbus the emu. He's been on the run since July 30th and was last seen on Dutch Hill Road on Monday. If you see Nimbus, do not approach. Immediately call police department's non-emergent number and they will dispatch an animal control officer. A cash reward is being offered for Nimbus's safe return. Inflation went up in July after 12 straight months of declines, but some economists aren't worried. Madeline Rivera explains from Washington.
Inflation got a little hotter in July. Prices are up 3.2% compared to a year ago, an increase of 0.2% from the previous month.
Look, this obviously was better than expected. The survey had it expected at 3.3. We came in at 3.2.
Housing was the biggest reason for the uptick. Prices for food like beef, bread, and apples also went up, but the cost of airline fares, used cars and trucks, and medical care went down.
I think the broad takeaway here is that the inflation that we're seeing is in all the stuff that consumers really have no choice but to buy. So housing, energy, food.
Economists are keeping a close eye on core inflation, which strips out food and energy costs. They're seeing a bright spot with that number remaining at 0.2% from June to July.
Inflation is still with us. It's not going down as fast as we'd like, but it is increasing at a lesser rate.
Overall inflation has plunged from last summer's peak of 9.1%, a sign that the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes are taking effect. Still, it's higher than the Fed's target rate of 2%.
You know, you don't raise rates and suddenly everything changes. It takes time.
This price data will be one of the key measures that the Fed will take into account when deciding whether to raise interest rates for the 12th time since March 2022. In Washington, Malta Rivera, Fox News.
The FBI has killed a man in Utah connected to making violent threats against President Biden. Agents shot Craig Robertson in Provo Wednesday, just hours before the president was expected to land in the state. The shooting erupted when agents were trying to serve an arrest and search warrant at Robertson's home around 6:15 a.m. Court documents allege Robertson referenced a presidential assassination. It also alleges Robertson made threats against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, and New York AG Letitia James. Russia escalates its attacks on Ukrainian food, creating more instability around the world. Greg Palcott reports.
As the ground war in Ukraine grinds on, another massive crisis is growing. Russia stepping up its bombing and harassing of Ukrainian ports, ships, and warehouses, making a big push to stop shipments of much-needed food for hundreds of millions around the world. It's also shutting off an important revenue source for Ukrainian farmers and traumatizing residents of those port cities who say they're always alert for the next attack.
We are living on a powder keg. We don't know if we will wake up tomorrow or not. Only God knows.
The targeting of food comes as Ukraine is increasingly taking the fight to Russian soil. Moscow says its air defense system shot down at least 2 drones heading for the capital on Thursday, the second straight day of air attacks, prompting a new warning from the Russian military.
Threats to Russia's military security require a timely and adequate response. We will discuss the necessary measures to neutralize them and make appropriate decisions.
The White House wants to keep the funds for those drones flowing. It's preparing a new request for billions of dollars in additional military aid. And while a growing number of lawmakers are questioning whether it's too much, most say it's a win for both Ukraine and the U.S.
Most of the money that we spend related to Ukraine is actually spent in the U.S., so it's actually employing people here and improving our own military.
And the Russian military says it plans to beef up its troop presence in the West to counter what it calls new aggression from NATO. In Kyiv, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
A brand of organic kiwis sold in New York is being removed from shelves for potential listeria contamination. Zespri branded organic kiwi packages from David Oppenheimer and Company are being recalled after testing found listeria in some fruit samples. They were shipped between June 14th of 23 and July 7th of 2023. The FDA says the kiwis were grown in New Zealand and exported to North America. The agency says no illnesses connected to the recall have been reported, and consumers are advised to not eat the product and instead throw it away. Your complete forecast is coming up next. Plus, the U.S. is preparing to send humans back to the moon with the objective of harvesting natural resources. More on NASA's plan coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Good evening. It was another rainy day as August is really starting to take on some of those fall-like feels. Now, it has been very active over even the last just 7 days. Looking at that accumulated precipitation, you have that significant accumulation running from portions there of central Pennsylvania and then running right through our area and up through those higher elevations in eastern New York. So dealing with these rounds of rainfall continues to bring daily potential that we talk on those flooding concerns, especially when we have rainfall chances, and we are staying on the more active side. Now today we did bring in that additional rainfall, at least looking at the area walking away with 1/4 of an inch, some isolated areas getting up to that 1/2 inch marker. Now most of that has been dragging its way out of the area, allowing for some clearing, and with clear and calm conditions and that moisture field staying in place, it will be another morning of that fog, again dense in some of those fog prone areas. So continue to keep yourself wary of times of reduced visibility. But we should see that warming should burn off that fog fairly quickly as we'll be underneath some pleasant sunshine for our Friday, as well as expecting that to set up for Sunday. Sunday might be a little bit of a cooler feel with a stronger wind associated with it, but overwhelmingly, though, still very gorgeous weather there on the opposite sides of the weekend forecast. Right smack dab in the middle, though, we have another chance for some stormy weather. And what we're seeing with this threat is that there is going to be some strong to severe storms possible with it. So we'll be keeping an eye on that threat. Right now, very marginal risk, but it does run up through our local area. So the threat when it comes to some larger hail and some damaging wind gusts within any storm will be possible. And then the activity does continue next week, especially when it comes to that on again, off again weather pattern that we've been talking about. As we see that set up through the weekend, that's going to persist into next week as we have several different systems that are going to be swinging their way with the jet stream located right over the area from the Great Lakes into the northeastern portion of the United States. So as mentioned, there's some of that fog in the morning, burns off pretty quickly though, and we set up for a fairly pleasant day as we'll watch that. Temperatures will be just flirting with that 80-degree threshold, so cooler than normal, but comfortable for this time of the year. Again, giving more of those fall-like feels as temperatures try to trend downward, but with abundant sunshine, you'll at least get a little bit of a summer-like feel. Now, as we head into that Saturday forecast, as mentioned, thunderstorms are possible. The strongest risk is going to be closer to the low-pressure system that will be moving its way across portions of Pennsylvania, but we're still in that zone that we're going to watch storms increase as we step from the mid-morning into the early afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on those strong storms, those threats that will be associated with it. And then as we head into that Sunday forecast, there's another break. Again, as mentioned, we're going to keep that like slightly cooler feel, but what we'll see on Sundays, there is going to be a little bit of a stronger wind that's taking place as we again are watching another system move in. So that gives us that southerly pump that brings us that warmth and instability that's going to fire up a few scattered showers. This system looks a little bit weaker on the sense when it comes to storm chances, but it's going to be stronger when it comes down to winds associated with it, as well as continuing to keep those temperatures cooler before again we'll get a few dry days middle of next week.